everyone, and welcome to another edition of Buzzy B. Esther. In this episode, I want to go over 53 reasons why you should drink celery juice on an empty stomach. So, a lot of people always ask me, why celery juice? What's the big deal? The short answer is that it kills pathogens and helps your immune system to fight off anything that might be going on. The long answer is those 53 reasons, and we're going to go through and break down all of the different things inside of the celery juice that really helps our bodies. So stay tuned to find out more. So to give you this information, I actually read through the book Celery Juice by the medical medium, who is Anthony William. And in this short book, it's his shortest book, it's only 185 pages, he tells all about why celery juice. Chapter 2 is celery juice benefits. Chapter 3 is relief from your symptoms and conditions, where he goes over, I believe, over 54 different symptoms and conditions that he explains exactly what celery juice does for those things. Chapter 4 is how to make celery juice work for you. Chapter 5 is the celery juice cleanse. Chapter 6 is healing and detox answers. Chapter 7 is rumors, concerns, and myths. Chapter 8 is alternatives to celery juice. And Chapter 10 is a healing movement. So if you guys don't know, celery juice is a world movement right now. A ton of people are doing it, and there's a lot of benefits of it. So please. The medical medium makes his case for celery juice in all of his books because it's a very integral part to healing. Without celery juice, you're just not making as many strides forward as you could be. So the book Celery Juice itself a lot of it was repeated information from what I read in Cleanse to Heal and other things that I read before that, because celery juice was probably number 5, the 5th book I read. I read Cleanse to Heal first, The Medical Medium Revised and Expanded, Life-Changing Foods, Liver Rescue, and then Celery Juice. And then the last one I read was Thyroid Healing. So all of his books, there's a little bit more information where you're learning a lot. But if you want a really comprehensive book as a starting point on where to start, I would recommend
Cleanse to Heal.
So chapter 1 is all about why celery juice. How did it start? So the medical medium actually started recommending celery juice back in 1975. And he used to recommend it to family and friends for acid reflux as well as inflammation from injury. People were astounded when he would say, drink a whole head of celery to help heal these things. So celery juice has now made its way into the mainstream health scene because it works. People see the recommendation and they might scoff, like, celery? That's gross. Why would I drink a whole, section of it? However, when they actually start implementing the protocols with celery juice, they actually start healing what's going on, and the proof is in the pudding, as I like to say. Through the origin journey that he describes in this first chapter, he explains that celery juice can help people break out of vicious cycles of addiction, heal anxiety and depression, helps heal pretty much any chronic illness condition you can think of. Chapter 3 actually outlines over 48 illnesses and how celery juice helps. So he goes into detail on exactly what it does for those specific ailments.
Sorry about that, everyone. I actually skipped reasons 4, 5, and 6 in this introduction section originally, so here they are. The sodium cluster salts in celery rotate around the celery atom like planets around the solar system. They kill pathogens. says on his lives that if a scientist were to take a pathogen on a slide and put a drop of celery juice on it, they would see that the celery kills it. The plant hormones present in celery help balance the endocrine system. And reason 6, the vitamin C present is immune boosting. I will go into more detail about these 6 reasons as we continue through the 9 different components that really are amazing in celery juice and help our bodies so much.
And as we continue, I'm going to tell you what each part of the celery juice does. So chapter 2 is all about celery juice benefits. And Anthony William starts talking about how science and research is pretty much not studying celery. And if they do, they'll start to see all of these different things and how they work together, which really is amazing for our health. He also mentions that if a blood test picks up higher sodium levels and you just started drinking celery juice, it's not the sodium in the celery that it's picking up. It's just it could be old toxic clusters of toxic salt that are kind of hidden in the body, and celery juice knocks that out, and it could be in the bloodstream for a test. So if that's the case, just keep at it, try to get tested a little bit down the way on your healing journey and see how it might change. So the structure of celery includes sodium being suspended in living hydrobioactive water. The sodium cluster salts are tightly connected to this living water. These clusters consist of many types of salts in and around each other, and they combine and can separate as they move around. Says that they are structured like the solar system, so they kind of rotate around a center, just like the planets do around our sun. The benefits that I'm going to continue listing of the 53 benefits are including several different parts of the celery, including sodium cluster salts, cofactor, micro, and trace minerals, electrolytes, plant hormones, digestive enzymes, antioxidants, vitamin C, prebiotic factors, and hydrobioactive water. So we're going to go through all of those components and what each does for us. So next, I'm going to talk all about sodium cluster salts, 8 things that they do in celery juice. Sodium cluster salts remove crystallized toxic salts that stay in organs for years. These toxic salts come from things like table salt and other things that are in our food. The sodium cluster salt in fresh celery juice break these toxic salts down and help get rid of them. The sodium in celery juice is a macrosodium, which is commonly found in plants. It helps balance and is beneficial to the body that will not make it spike sodium in the blood levels from the celery. So again, if that spike does happen, it is from the table salt that's getting dislodged in little pockets that it likes to hide in, because the celery salts won't actually register on a blood test. Sodium cluster salts are the ultimate neurotransmitter chemical. They serve as a critical component to the neurotransmitter and offer electrolytes. This is the most powerful electrolyte drink on the planet. Electrolytes help regulate chemical processes in the body. The article linked below from Cleveland Clinic tells details about what these electrolytes do for the body and what makes them up. Trace minerals are present in and around the sodium cluster salts. The sodium cluster salts are in a separate compound that rotate like the planets do around the sun. Sodium cluster salts contain information that is activated when it enters your body. The information is for our own well-being rather than for the plants. The information includes information about its purpose and how it can help extend the lives of the creature consuming it. The cluster salts help disarm and neutralize toxins that are floating through the bloodstream and organs. As the sodium cluster salts touch these toxins, they disarm them and make them more friendly in the body so they don't harm our cells and tissues. These salts also disarm toxic heavy metals such as copper, mercury, and aluminum. As soon as the cluster salt touches these metals, it discharges the metal and makes them inactive. Heavy metals cause so many problems, and I actually have a lot more detail about that in my heavy metal detox cleanse smoothies. I have, I think, 4 or 3 videos about that. The sodium cluster salts will also kill pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and fungus. They even kill antibiotic-resistant strep. The cluster salts continue to work even after absorbed into the bloodstream. So all around, the cluster salts have a huge role in helping with all of these different things going on that people are having issues with. Next, I want to talk about 5 things cofactor minerals and trace minerals do that are present in celery juice. So the mineral salts rejuvenate the liver overall and go into the brain and into the liver to make it stronger. This helps the liver produce more bile, and the trace minerals are also called cofactor microtrace minerals. The cofactor microtrace minerals are very helpful for digestion because they help restore our one dimension of the 7 parts of hydrochloric acid in our stomachs. The trace minerals enter and feed stomach gland cells, which provide it what it needs to produce the 7-acid blend in the stomach needs to effectively kill unproductive bugs that come through our digestive system into the duodenum, stomach, and further down the intestinal tract. The microtrace minerals also provide many parts of the body with things they need to strengthen their immune system. Trace minerals help the liver's immune system by giving it strength to create more white blood cells that attack the bad bugs. Trace minerals help the liver create a chemical weapon that harms unproductive bugs like strep. It puts us on the offense rather than the defense. 3 things electrolytes do for celery juice. 3 things electrolytes do in celery juice. So just as a side note, if you don't know what an electrolyte is, it is something that helps with many functions of the body, including but not limited to allow electricity to flow, pass along information from cell to cell, helps cells respirate, and helps detox from the cells. So celery juice contains the most complete form of living electrolytes in the sodium cluster salts. It restores neurotransmitter chemicals that help neurotransmitters become alive again if they're dehydrated, dysfunctional, or no longer working. A neurotransmitter is like an empty beehive. Neurotransmitter chemicals are like bees that bring the hive to life. So I looked up the difference between a neuron and a neurotransmitter, and the neuron is the actual brain cell. A neurotransmitter is the chemical that's produced, or it's basically producing chemicals to help all the cells talk to each other and function properly. The brain cells are not physically connected, but the neurotransmitters connect the whole network by transmitting all these chemicals and things like that. So if they're not working, then your brain's not working properly, and you might have some different things going on there. When the electrolyte in celery lands on a neurotransmitter, it's like the missing piece to a circuit that brings the whole thing online. They are complete neurotransmittal chemicals that have the ability to bring the neurotransmitter online. There are also plant hormones in celery juice. So I'm going to go over 6 things that the plant hormones help us with. Celery contains many types of plant hormones. Some types are solely to help the plant grow, but others are medicinal to whoever ingests it. One of these undiscovered hormones feed and replenish all the glands in the endocrine system. The glands of the endocrine system include, but aren't limited to, the pancreas, thyroid, adrenals, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and pineal gland. The Johns Hopkins website explains that endocrine system is a series of glands and organs that make hormones and regulate metabolism, energy levels, reproduction, and response to energy, and mood. The plant hormone provides balance to the body by providing support to the endocrine system. If the gland is over or underactive, then the celery will do its part to calm it down or speed it up. The plant hormone helps strengthen and stabilize the endocrine glands when they enter the glands, which help with the neurological symptoms someone may be experiencing. Another plant hormone in celery juice helps strengthen the reproductive system in both men and women. This hormone balances and stimulates the reproductive system in general. Celery is an herbal medicine. We usually need to be careful about how much herbal medicine we ingest, but with celery we can have as much of it as we want because it's very beneficial. He recommends, medical medium recommends at least 16 ounces to get it to do its job, but I do know that on the advanced cleanse you can have 2 32-ounce celery juices, one in the morning, one in the evening, for the duration of the 9 days. Okay, next I want to review 11 things digestive enzymes do in celery juice for us. There are 3 varieties of digestive enzymes in celery juice that are undiscovered by science and research that help the small intestine the most. There are over 24 varieties of enzymes present in celery juice that contribute to the breakdown of waste matter inside the intestinal tract. Digestive enzymes in celery are activated by pH change when they enter the small intestine. One small digestive enzyme in celery can ignite many other weakened digestive enzymes that come from food, the pancreas, and the liver. The digestive enzyme that ends up in the small intestine come from the liver bile. So it's kind of like a circuit again, like one thing lights up and the rest can light up after it. Celery juice enzymes help receive digestive enzymes so they can do their job of dispersal of fats and digestion of food. Another reason is celery juice re-stimulates enzymes from food that have found their home in the small intestine. Celery juice enzymes help strengthen the liver, which helps it produce bile-related digestive enzymes. It helps strengthen the pancreas. It helps ignite the pancreatic enzymes. Celery juice enzymes help break down the assimilation of nutrients in the digestion process that neither bile or hydrochloric acid can do. These enzymes are partially responsible for the reduction of unproductive acid, and they reduce and balance this acid. The digestive enzymes also break down and dissolve mucus inside the intestinal tract, which it pushes out of the intestinal tract. Once this mucus is gone, this makes way for celery's sodium cluster salts to attack viruses and bacteria that are maybe hiding in different pockets of the intestinal tract. Next up, we have antioxidants. There's only 2 things that I picked out for this, and then a little bit more about fatty deposits. Just a little bit of an explanation. So antioxidants in celery juice remove fatty deposits around toxic heavy metal deposits in the body. The antioxidants in celery also coat the heavy metals and discourage oxidation. This allows the sodium cluster salts to move and neutralize the heavy metal to make it less aggressive. The fatty deposits around the heavy metal are terrible because when they get stuck to heavy metals like suction cups, they oxidize and charge the heavy metals. This leads to corrosion and toxic runoff that affects nearby tissues. The fat also absorbs into this toxic runoff and becomes food for pathogens. If viruses get into the brain, they can cause many neurological symptoms, including Parkinson's, ADHD, and much more. So the fat, heavy metal, toxin environment is not good to try and get rid of all the bad stuff going on. Next up, we have 4 things that vitamin C does in celery juice. So celery's vitamin C doesn't require the liver to process it with methylation for the body to use it. The vitamin C in celery is readily available to be used right away because it has pre-methylation and it's already broken down. So when I heard that, I didn't really know what methylation was, so I actually looked it up and found one of AW's blogs that described it a little bit more. So Anthony William explains in his blog about methylation gene mutation that methylation has to do with the conversion and breakdown of important chemicals, chemical compounds, and phytochemicals that are drawn from sources such as food we eat and the water we drink, the sunshine we absorb as well. Breaking down chemicals into smaller and smaller chemicals is a very extensive process. In the book, he also explains that the liver does a lot of this methylation, and in the blog, he explains that the small intestine also does methylation as well. We can support this methylation process by eating elevated biotics. So elevated biotics are a little bit different than what you may have heard, because I'm sure you've heard of prebiotics and probiotics, which I'll explain a little bit later. But elevated biotics are basically the microorganisms that are on living food. So if you grow sprouts on your countertop, or if you grow your own garden, or you buy something from organic produce, local farmers market that you know hasn't been using pesticides and things like that, you just do a quick rinse under the sink, and they actually have microorganisms that are very beneficial for your body and can actually help with B12 production and also methylation. So you definitely want to make sure you're at least try to grow some sprouts. It's super, super easy to do. Maybe I'll make a video about that, so let me know if you would like to see that. So another reason, this will be the second reason from the 4, because I just talked a lot about methylation. Vitamin C and celery's cluster salts have a special relationship. The salts can hitch a ride on the vitamin C, and they travel wherever the immune system says that they're needed the most. They can both work their magic from there. Celery juice is also powerful because it immediately improves the immune system of the chronically ill. Many people who are chronically ill or have any kind of symptoms have a very overburdened and sluggish and fatty liver. So the fact that most foods that have vitamin C need to go through that methylation process by the liver, if your liver is dealing with a pathogenic load or overburdened with fats, then it can't do that. So celery juice is available right away. You don't have to wait for it to get processed. And that's why people find so much relief in doing the celery juice the way it's recommended. And then finally, the vitamin C in celery also binds to viral waste matter in the bloodstream and escorts it out of the body through the kidneys. Next, I want to talk about 4 things for the prebiotic factor in celery that help us. So the prebiotic factor in many fruits and vegetables starve out unproductive bacteria, which allow good bacteria to thrive because the prebiotic provides food for the good bacteria. So prebiotics, is basically food for good bacteria. And if you have more good bacteria, there's no room for the bad bacteria. It's basically what that means. So on foodinsight.com, they explain the difference between prebiotics and probiotics, as I'm sure you've heard, there's probiotic pills and things. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria. So it's just the name that they call them. And then prebiotics is, you can get that from lots of fruits and veggies. It's just basically food for your good bacteria. Another reason prebiotic factors are so good is that the celery brings this factor to the next level by not only starving the unproductive bacteria, but it also breaks them down and destroys them, specifically the prebiotics in celery. Prebiotics in celery also break down pockets of food that bad bacteria eat in the intestinal tract. Dehydrated fats and rancid proteins are blasted apart as the celery juice's sodium cluster salts come through. And then finally, the sodium cluster salts also surround any bad bacteria, which draws out all of the poisons from the bacteria and help destroy it. These clusters of destroyed pieces of bacteria and things like that are actually becoming food for the good bacteria after it's blasted and destroyed and deactivated. And finally, last but not least, we have hydrobioactive water, which is the living water in celery juice. So the hydrobioactive water is living water filled with the life of the herb. The water contains information about the life, energy, and nutrients of the celery. Celery transforms regular water into this hydrobioactive water to activate it. Just a little bit more about this. Regular water and this hydrobioactive water do not compare. And it's very important to have celery juice with no added water, including ice cubes. Try not to add them to it because that will actually deactivate this active water. Also, if you rinse your celery right before juicing it, just kind of shake it out in the sink a little bit to try and get all the little water droplets off. Another thing hydrobioactive water does is it supports life-giving nutrients like everything mentioned above in a way that allows these nutrients to be delivered to the body more effectively. And finally, medical medium akin celery water to our blood. Blood is our life force, and celery water is its life force. When the life force in celery water mixes with our life force, it goes beyond living water and is life. So that was it. Those were the 52 reasons why you should drink celery juice. I know it was a lot, and honestly, the first time I read this book, I read it and I was like, oh, this is amazing. But when someone would ask me, hey, what does celery juice do for you? I would kind of forget. So hopefully you can come back to this article. I kind of just pretty much paraphrase the second chapter or third chapter of celery juice. And I hope that it helps you. So there's a lot of cool things that celery juice does. And I like to actually think of it attacking those viruses and things as I'm drinking it. And I always pray over it too and say, you know, angels, please help it get where it needs to go and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so after I made this video, I actually came up with an acronym on how to remember all the parts of celery to help you explain it to someone if they ask, you know, what does celery do for you? So the acronym that I came up with is HEAPS MDHVC. So HEAPS stands for Hydrobioactive Water, Electrolytes, Antioxidants, Prebiotic Factors, Sodium Cluster Salts. MD stands for Minerals, Cofactor, and Trace, Digestive Enzymes. And then HBC stands for Plant Hormones and Vitamin C. So I thought of a heap as a pile of something you need, like you need a heap of celery, instead of an MD, which would be a medical doctor, for our highly valued customers, or to get high doses of vitamin C or something, I don't know. So let me know if you come up with a better one, or maybe instead of HVC, we can just use high C because it has high vitamin C. So, you know, I'm just kind of like throwing around ideas there. I wrote out all the letters to try and think of it. But you need heaps of water to prevent going to the medical doctor and have high amounts of vitamin C for health, right? That's kind of where I went with that. So I hope that helps, and I hope you guys enjoyed the article. Again, all of this information is on my blog, so please check that out, and please don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you like this content.
So don't forget to check out my blog, and I have all my resources listed on there, as well as more videos that are relevant. So I have celery juice makes you glow, celery juice routine, and for all of that I have my blog and my YouTube videos. So check them out, and I also am going to link my heavy metal detox smoothie series as well. And again, I have all the references for things that I have researched about neurotransmitters and hydrochloric acid and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you check it out. Have a great one. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. So celery juice has now made itself a whole head of lettuce, are tightly connected to the living water and the sodium cluster salts that the planets do around our sun. This is the most powerful electrolyte to drink on the planet.